Hello, Joe Simhart here. It's January 28th, 2023, and today I'm going to be talking about the group that's in this brochure I have here, Falun Dafa. I got it from a Falun member in Philadelphia a few years ago during a protest they had there against the Chinese Communist Party, members of which were at a cult awareness conference headed by the International Cultic Studies Association, where I spoke, but there were also some speakers, scholars from China, speaking out against cults, or what they called evil cults, is what they like to call them. And one of their main targets is, of course, this group Falun Dafa or Falun Gong. So you've probably heard of it. If you haven't, there's lots of stuff on the internet about the group. Maybe you've gotten a copy of the Epoch Times, a right-wing newspaper that's very similar to the Washington Times, but the difference is that the Epoch Times is linked with Falun Gong quite directly, and along with the dance troupe Shen Yun that you've probably seen advertised on TV. Anyway, it says on this article in 1998, Li Hongzhi, who's the founder of this group, and here's a picture of him around 20 years ago, and this is in his book, Zhuan Falun. It's a series of lectures by the founder and leader that came out around 2000. And so it states that he believes alien invaders walk the earth and that modern science and race mixing are part of their ploy to overtake humanity. And he has reportedly said that he can walk through walls and make himself invisible and, all that. So, yeah. And in this news outlet, it said that the Epoch Media Group, along with Shen Yun, a dance troupe known for its ubiquitous advertising and unsettling performances, a little bit too tight and folksy, make up the outreach effort of Falun Gong, a relatively new spiritual practice that combines ancient Chinese meditative exercises, mysticism, and all that. So I'm going to get into this whole idea that a question, is Falun Gong a fascist organization? All right. Well, on the surface, a lot of people would say, oh, yeah, look, this is one of their symbols. All right. But of course, the swastika does not make it fascist. It's an ancient symbol that predates the Nazis, and it means the spinning of the cosmos, energy, good luck. It means a lot of those things that has nothing to do with what Hitler and others did with it, or that Falun Gong does with the symbol. It's used in Tibetan temples. I've seen them. I've been over visiting Tibetan temples in Nepal. It's ubiquitous. It's a common symbol, charming, decorative, certainly not evil in its normal, usual presentation. However, so I just wanted to read from the leader's mouth here a little bit about what they accuse him of and how maybe delusional or grandiose he is. For example, he has said that with the practice of Falun Gong, you can open your third eye, or what occultists call the pineal gland, which is kind of a dormant eye structure. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the science, but what he says on page 51 of his book, the opening of the third eye that we address avoids using the human optic nerve and opens a passageway between one's eyebrows so that the pineal body can directly see the outside. This is called the opening of the third eye. Some people may ponder this isn't realistic. After all, this pair of eyes still serves as a tool. They can capture images of objects, something impossible without the eyes. Modern medical dissection has already discovered that the front section of the pineal body is equipped with the complete structure of a human eye. That's not true. But let me go on. Because it grows inside one's skull, it is said to be a vestigial eye. Whether it is a vestigial eye or not, our community of cultivators has reservations. Yet modern science has, after all, already recognized there is an eye in the middle of the human brain. The passageway that we open targets exactly that location, and this happens to agree completely with the understanding of modern medicine. This eye does not create false images like our pair of physical eyes, as it sees both the nature of matter and the essence of matter. Therefore, a person with high-level third eye can see beyond our dimension into other space-times, and they can see scenes that ordinary people cannot see. A person with low-level third eye may have the penetrative vision to see things through a wall and look through a human body. It has precisely this supernormal ability. So he sounds a lot like Rudolf Steiner with his blather about supersensible powers that people have and being able to communicate with supersensible beings. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all the magical craziness that Falun Gong gets into, but let's look at one thing here regarding levitation. So he tells stories kind of matter-of-factly, the leader does, that there was an elderly practitioner from Guizhou who was an elderly woman. She had 2 beds in her room, with one bed by one wall, the other bed by the other wall. When she was sitting in meditation at the bed, she felt herself levitating. And when she opened her eyes, she found herself having drifted to the other bed. She thought to herself, I should return to my bed. And so she flew back again. There was a practitioner in Qingdao who sat in meditation on a bed during lunch break when no one was around in his office. As soon as he sat there, he levitated and moved harshly up and down as high as a meter. He would come down after rising up, and this kept occurring. The bed cover was even bounced to the floor. He was a little bit excited and somewhat scared. This up and down movement lasted the whole lunch period. Finally, the office bell rang, and he thought to himself, I shouldn't let others see this. They'd wonder what's going on. I should quickly stop. He stopped. This is why elderly people can conduct themselves well. If this had happened to a young person, when the office bell rang, he would think, you should all come see me levitate. This is where one cannot easily control one's mentality of showing off. See how well I've practiced. I can levitate. Once one shows off the ability, it will be gone, as it is not allowed to exist this way. There are many such cases among practitioners everywhere. Yeah, so what he's claiming here is very typical of gurus. I'm thinking of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, for instance, the founder of TM, who also claimed to be able to levitate, and his members do a type of levitation or hopping. When asked by the press, why doesn't he demonstrate this scientifically under strict measurement and so forth, he says, I don't do circus tricks. And I've heard other gurus say the same thing, is that, we don't want publicity for our paranormal powers and all of that. The old theosophists used to say to know, to dare, to do, and to be silent. So never show off your magical powers. But nevertheless, write books telling people that I have them, and you can have them too if you do my techniques, which is what Mr. Li Hongzhi does. So getting back to his extreme right-wing positions, racist positions, is he fascist? Well, his fascism really has nothing to do with the swastika, which is, again, an ancient Tibetan symbol that he co-opted along with the Taoist symbol. You can see here the yin-yang, trying to make himself the mystic that reinvents ancient traditions for modern times. The founder of the one who inspired fascism happened in Italy, and it came out of the combination of the writings of Marinetti, who wrote the Futurist Manifesto back in the late teens, early teens, and Marinetti influenced Mussolini with ideas that led to fascism that later the Nazis picked up on. And, the word fascis is a Italian word for the rods of power that the Caesars passed to one another, thus fascism. But the reason there's a similarity here between Mussolini and Li Hongzhi, is written in this book on Padre Pio, and that I reviewed before. It's Miracles and Politics in the Secular Age. And in this page, 146, the author states about Mussolini by 1926, remember this is way before the war, Fascist Italy's Christ figure was more Benito Mussolini than it was Padre Pio. Prayers that mimicked the creed were recited to him, and so were praises borrowed from the medieval liturgy of Christus Vincit. Il Duce was considered better than anyone at performing miracles, including the miracle of healing. Okay, so Li Hongzhi claims that if you tune into his energy, his Falun, you can be healed, that that energy will heal you. How many children, according to regime propaganda, got well after a photograph of Mussolini was laid under their pillow? How many of the deaf and dumb recovered their speech in order to swear loyalty to the founder of the empire? How many pregnant women tacked a portrait of El Duce on the wall so as to transmit his virtues into the creature in their wombs? And then there were even his more amazing feats, like the time Mussolini stopped the lava flowing down the side of Mount Etna. Such beliefs betray an enduring Italian taste for excess, for circus prodigies, for coup de theater. Anyway, you get the idea. Falun Gong practitioners have the same projection upon this guy here. So if you think that this peaceful, self-cultivating group that wants to bring harmony to the world is what they claim to be on their brochures, think again, because if you allow this group, this man, this consciousness that runs the Epoch Times to take over a government, take over a military, and have kind of a religious or transcendent idea running the country, you're not going to have democracy anymore. You will have a hierarchical system that mimics fascism and in fact will recreate it. At least that's my thought. So beyond the arguments between the Communist Party and Falun Gong over the decades, it's a specious thing to say, for instance, if you're against Falun Gong, you must be pro-communism. Well, that's just BS. Both, I think, have serious flaws in their structure and in their governance and in their leadership. So don't fall for that game that if you don't like the one, you're going to like the other, because basically it's like the Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy when it comes to Falun Gong and the Communist Party. So I'll just leave it at that, a little insight into Mr. Li Hongzhi and his magical thinking, which is leading a movement that is trying to fool a lot of the people that lean right-wing in the United States and other places. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you again. Thank you.